Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining us at our live Q&A. Hi, my name is Janelle, and I'm sitting here with my colleague and good friend, Misty. Misty, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm Misty, and I don't know. I'm trained in a number of energetic modalities, and I kind of blend those with my personal style and create my own little unique deal there. And I've got two beautiful little girls who are very gifted as well. So here I am.
I know that's what makes this, you are walking it right now. You are living the life of being highly intuitive, highly gifted in these intuitive gifts. And then you're guiding and walking with two others that are very gifted. So that's just perfect. For those that don't know me, my name is Janelle. I go by Janelle Ray on all my, if you see me on any social media platforms. And I am an intuitive. I'm an intuitive guide. I guide people to their gifts, to help them understand them, what's happening for them, and activate others, whatever's ready to open up. Just to talk about, that's just a little bit of it. Then I'm also a learning specialist. So I work with learning differences. So dyslexia, ADHD, and individuals on the spectrum. So neurodivergent individuals. So that's my background, a little bit of horse training thrown in there just to season it up. So we see this, Misty, we personally have experienced walking and being learning difference individuals. I'm dyslexic with an auditory processing disorder. If you were to put any kind of label just to package it, how would you describe your?
I would say probably ADHD for sure, at least.
Yeah. ADHD, and then reading was a challenge,
Yes,
never diagnosed,
sure.
but that was a piece of it. So learning difference, we're both come from a learning difference background, had that in our journey work, and we're both highly empathic intuitives. So we personally have walked this journey, and now you have your little gals that you're walking with and helping them understand themselves in this space. And I'm walking with individuals and adults and kiddos, understanding this space. So we know that there's a lot of questions out there because parents, this can look so many different ways. When we're adults, parents looking at an individual, looking at these kiddos, and they're highly empathic kiddos, it can look so many different ways. One of the things that has come up as a discussion and questions for us is, and as the audience, as you guys have questions, just go ahead and join the conversation here, put it in the chat, and we'll discuss your questions specifically. So we're so glad that you're here. But one of the things I want to open with are tantrums. Tantrums that we can see in, we're looking at just an outbreak. And I know in the world of autism, there can be a lot of emotional outbreaks. And it can come from sensory overload. And we've understood sensory overload as, an imbalance in the neurological patterns in our brain are not getting the sensory input to the proper places in the mind, in the brain, and therefore there's feedback, just very simply put, by the way. And so that's a piece of it. But there's more than that. Sensory beyond how we have been understanding sensory. So let's unpack this tantrum piece a little bit. How would you describe what you've seen, and how would you speak to that, Misty?
The first thing that comes to mind is just overwhelm. It's just overwhelm in any sort of case, the energy that you've stepped into, the energy in the room, wherever that is, if that's in the classroom, whatever, you have to think you're not only, or them, the kiddos, or us too, you're not only dealing with your own energy, but you're dealing with the just ambient energy in the room. You're dealing with the other people in the room, and then maybe the teachers as well. And that's a lot, and it depends on, again, it depends also on how well you're supporting yourself too. Did you already come into that space and you were already, kind of overwhelmed, in that case, were you flustered that day for whatever reason? There are so many things, but it's just overwhelm is kind of like a nice little umbrella there. And I think we can all relate to that. You're just totally saturated, and you're like, just one little thing is like the cherry on the top, and then everything just explodes because
right. And you can only hold in so much. So
yeah.
let's break this down into some pieces. So when we talk about sensory, we often are thinking about our physical senses, which is a part of it. We have our physical eyes and everything it sees. They see ears, physical ears, and everything they hear. We have our taste buds. We have our tactile. We have, what we'll feel. I'm feeling happy. I'm feeling sad. That adds to all things sensory. Then we have the sensory that's equally as part of us, but it's part of that being empathic part. I feel empath is a very big umbrella that goes over things, people that feel and sense beyond their physical senses. And it can be, they can hear beyond what the physical ear hears. They see beyond what the physical eye sees. So you hear people talk about seeing auras or seeing energy in some forms, and people that you can taste, that can be a source of empathic input. All the physical senses have its mirror energy senses, sense the beyond the physical senses, and then the sense of feel, and then just the knowing. All of a sudden you'll just have knowings. Those intuitive senses are not unique to us. We see them in nature. Sharks navigate through the waters. I learned this at SeaWorld a few years back, that they navigate by sensing things that have everything has energy, and they navigate. And that's why when in captivity, they run into things, they go slightly, which is a little sad, bonkers, because the walls are too close. They're built for big oceans, and all of that close wall is energy, and they have to put soundproofing or sound absorbers on the tank so that it doesn't drive the poor sharks crazy. And it's like, yeah, things in the world around us have these senses beyond the physical senses. And so it shouldn't seem so weird. And so it's like, that's why we want to have these discussions, is it's not strange. It's quite natural and normal to have these. And that's, I think, one of our platforms, if we will. If we were to have a platform, that's one of them, is that as parents, we possibly experienced this, but didn't understand it. Did you did you growing up understand what was going on?
Honestly, any of this sort of stuff was not talked about, was not even brought up. To be honest, if anything, it was very scary. So for myself, I just shut that down, internalized that, and then was like, is there something wrong with me that this is coming up? And wow, so yeah, for myself, I immediately turned that around, and there's something wrong with me, and let's fix it or hide it quickly.
Yeah. And I had a similar, like, I didn't even know what was going on. Nobody's talking about it around me. And so here I am, feeling, seeing, knowing. Now, when I was in with the horses and all the animals before school, it was so natural because they're all operating that way, right? So you get dropped in a pen full of animals and you're like, happy place.
Yes.
There is nothing wrong with you in that space. Everybody around you being animals get it. So until we get put into a scenario, a circumstance. So for mine was school, yours was probably similar, right? Because you're in this tight classroom and all of a sudden, you're confused because of the learning difference. You're like, wow, my gifts are directly connected to my learning difference. Totally can unpack that, but that'll get us off on a rabbit trail. But the feeling, seeing, knowing, I mean, I just felt the world coming in on me like I was getting squashed and didn't know why.
Yeah, for sure.
And we're like, shut this beep down.
Yes.
And the sad part is that's what we all did. Many of us did, because we didn't understand it. And the repercussions of that, the effects of that, is that we're shutting down a huge part of our most authentic self. We're saying that's not good enough. That's not, and then people will see us and how we're reacting because it doesn't make sense to them. So let's go back to this tantrum or these outbursts, and people are looking at you like, what is wrong with you? And you're like, I don't know.
Yeah.
And so when we don't know, then we're even more self-loathing in a sense. It's like, what's wrong with me at another level, right? What's wrong with me? And so when we shut this down and then we say, what's wrong with me? Then we're not trusting ourselves. So now we don't trust who we are, and we don't, we're afraid of ourselves. So I can't, all the layers that ripples into. Now let's go through decision-making time. Now let's go into picking our friends. Let's go into picking all the decisions. What are some decisions we make, friends, hobbies, careers, life partners. The self-sabotaging pattern started when we didn't understand who we were and how we worked.
For sure.
So when you're going to, so we say that to say, now parents and people who know they're empathic, how can we support ourselves and our kiddos? So let's break down some things that you've seen as far as that could have been said were unexplainable tantrums. What are some things you've seen with your gals?
First thing that jumps to mind is like coming home from school, and it's not all the time, but you come home from school and it's just like, they'll get to picking at each other or something will be said and one of them will just blow up and you're like, whoa, what is going on? And it's just tears or yelling or whatever. And you're like, what is going on? But clearly, once you start to unpack that, and now that I'm starting to train myself to see it as that instead of, okay, this is just a fit or something, they're overwhelmed. They have had so much piled in and they've not done enough clearing or whatever. And it's just that one little thing on top. And, again, they're at home, so they're feeling safe. And then it's just, for sure. But, I can relate to that too, because that happens to me as well. You just don't, all of the energy stuff, a lot of times is unseen. So you don't realize how much, say if it's garbage, you don't realize how much you stacking on, and then it just doesn't have any spot to be held anymore. And some of it's going to topple down. And usually it's not even super related to the thing that started the whole deal, but yeah, it's just the crazy overwhelm of that. And honestly, probably every one of them that we've ever experienced, once you dig down to it, there's always something either energetic wise or feeling wise that's in there that's just had more stuff piled on top of it.
Okay. And then how do you find for your family gifts we have the gifts of feeling, and we'll talk about a little bit more of the gift side of it. Right now we're focusing on the what could be perceived as the negative side. So let's keep going. How do you self-care? So if I'm a runner, I do self-care. I stretch, I drink my electrolytes, and every physical gift I have a care thing that I do to support it. How do we support these gifts? They come in, they're overwhelmed. How do we support that?
These are so, in my opinion, they're trickier because, again, they're unseen, or for the most part unseen. So they tend to, at least for us, they build up quicker, because if you're not feeling it right then, usually for us, we don't feel it until we've hit that point of overwhelm. And then we're like, oh yeah, I forgot to do this. But yes, honestly, there's so many different things, and it does not have to be long and time consuming. I've noticed for the girls, they absolutely hate it. I mean, honestly, it cannot be worse if it's going to take a long time. It needs to be something quick and easy that they can just do. And the younger they were, we can do that for them. But, as they get to certain ages, they kind of need to learn to do that on their own, because you're not always able to do that for them. Honestly, being with the animals is so helpful, and it's so quick. Just a quick little, go out and see the puppy, go see the kitties, go see whatever for a little bit. Nature is just fantastic. Sit down by the tree, just sit on the ground, go for a walk. That will clear so quickly. We have found water. Water is awesome, whether that be even like if it's cold, even just getting in and out of a shower super fast. It's just like rinsing all of that off. One thing I really like to do is ask them, because then you're empowering them and letting them use their own intuitive gifts. Ask them, okay, we need to clear, because we've recognized that. And so what feels right now? And something will come, and it's not usually the same thing. It's something different every time. So letting them find that and trusting in that. And it could be something super easy, like, shake it off, or dance really quick, or sing, or it just something. And kids do it so quickly, so it doesn't need to be long. Honestly, the longer, the worse it tends to get, because then it's a chore.
So in this process, you're saying that they get in nature, they go on a walk, they get in water, they shake it off, roll on the ground,
Yes.
find the thing. But we need to highlight something, is they're discovering how for themselves. So you're saying, hey, here's some options. We can do salt baths. We can do, everything you said. But what feels or is resonating? How are your guides? So we're going to talk about guides a little bit. How are your guides guiding you? Because part of being empathic, so being empathic, for those that are just joining us, being empathic is when you can sense, you have your physical senses, and then you have your intuitive senses. So your eyes see maybe what's not in the physical space visible with your physical eyes, but your eyes see energy. They can see auras. They can see energy from plants. They can see, energy. Your ears hear energy. They can hear things that the physical ear isn't hearing. You can know things. You think, how come I can know that? Well, there's a knowing sense. There's a heart sense of just a feel. You have a feel that maybe gives you an image in your mind, or not, or a feeling or a sense. So and that's just to keep it simple. So there's and that's bringing in input, just like our physical senses are bringing in input. The sensory senses are bringing in input as well. They're designed to do things just like our eyes are designed to get us information. These sensory inputs are also designed to give us information. And we'll take a look at the gift side of that, how and why that happens. But right now we're talking about when you're looking at yourself, when you're looking at young people and they just came home from school and they're completely overwhelmed and their circuits are blown, they've been taking in information all day long, not just their physical senses, but their intuitive senses.
For sure.
And this is a journey of walking with understanding. You see a tantrum that just blows up and you think, what the heck? It seems like it's out of nowhere. It's not out of nowhere. So it's having the understanding that they're needing self-care.
For sure.
They're needing to, everything Misty just shared, they're needing to get out into nature, get with the animals. You know, I was just thinking, why do we have therapy animals? Why do animals work so well? Because they're helping us process the energy that we don't see, that we don't talk about. This intuitive side of us, the animals totally get. So they're helping us unpack that. That's just so natural for them. And unpacking means helping our body process it out of its physical and out of its energy and back into ground where it can transmute, which means changing from whatever form it was into a love form, clearing it out. It's the filtering system. So all this is helping the kiddos know that when they feel the overwhelm, they're not crazy either, because that's what we felt as kids. We felt crazy. Something's wrong with us. We shut all that down. And we were like, we don't want that for the next generations. We want them to grow and understand how to work with this ability. Well, one is like Misty said, it's like, what do you need to do? Here's some options. We'll do them together. Keep it simple, or they won't do it. Applies to me. Keep it simple, or I won't do it. And then what feels best, so that they're learning that this is nothing wrong with them. This is normal. I get to do this, and it transmutes it and it shifts and everything's fine.
For sure.
That's huge. And they're learning about themselves. This is natural. This is normal. And I can work with this. I'm okay. So that's the clearing part. Let's talk about real quickly the gift in that being an empath. What gift is there in what you see in your kiddos and yourself?
Ooh, there's so many. And I think that that kind of leads a little bit to the overwhelm, because so many of them are popping on and opening up. And so, you know, that for sure. I've got one that really tunes in emotionally. She just feels everything emotional wise. And she is my one that one of her favorite ways to clear is crying. And wow, that just pushes all my triggery buttons and stuff. So I have to be able to recognize that and, work through my own stuff, too, to where I can still support. And then maybe afterwards I can go back and be like, okay, why does that trigger me? So there's lots of self-discovery in that too. But I got super sidetracked there.
Yeah, but that's an important point.
She really she's a feeler. I'm very much that way too. I feel it in my body, like things will hurt if I'm near somebody or whatever. Like literally I will take on the pain that they're feeling, or things that blockages, whatever, I will take that on and I will feel that. And all of this is super confusing just because a lot of it is not yours. And, finally getting to that point where you realize, or that they can realize, that this is not all them. All of this, that feels so chaotic, it's not all them. And they're helping others. So that's huge to look at. But there's all kinds of things.
Yeah, it's like what you're talking about, like when you're feeling it, if you're going to help. So now let's learn, this is my gift, I can support. If I feel what's stuck or hurting somebody else, and I can sense where it is in my body. So embodiment's one of the words given for that, right? So then that person can then know where, through guidance, what can I bring to help relieve that?
Yeah.
So these intuitive gifts, we've got our physical gifts that are so amazing, arts, athletics, so many others, right? Leadership. And then we have the intuitive gift that's designed to complement that. I can sense for the greater good. These bigger gifts are really designed to support the greater community. So as these kiddos, as our kiddos and ourselves walk through school and society, we can get a feel like, oh, wow. And we can bring love to a space that we wouldn't be able to bring love to instead of, and that's helping shift a whole community around us. It's shifting the kids at school. It's still helping the entire school. Your kiddos' gifts are, because they're aware of them and they know how to clear. They're clearing what their body is picking up and helping transition into a love space. They get home and they clear it. So it's no longer whatever it was, fear, shame, whatever the kids are carrying around them. They felt it. They're helping that change. So it is a big deal when you think about sensory overload and emotional outbursts and tantrums and things. You think, well, no wonder. Look around us in the community. What emotions are flying around? That's a lot.
It is a lot.
And so it's like, oh my gosh, those little bodies are helping participate in changing that. So understanding, so intuitive gifts, empathic gifts are designed to serve and support ourselves, guide us, and support the world around us. How to clear, so important, because some people say, I'm empathic and I hate it. Well, I get it. If you don't know how to, I get that statement.
For sure.
When somebody gave me when I was learning about my dyslexia, and they gave me a book and said, hey, read this. I said, that's funny. And then it said the gift of dyslexia on it. And I said, that's funny too, because I don't see the gift here. And so, but then I did, and I got into it, and I'm like, they explained how to work with who I am. I'm not broke. I have a perceptual talent. And by golly, I do. It's totally connected to my intuitive talents. And every person I've worked with, and every person that within like all my energy trainings that I've taken for myself and studies over the last 20 years, every single one of us have had a learning difference. Every single one of us was either ADHD, had dyslexia, on the spectrum. Everybody that I've ever met. Now, there's probably somebody that isn't out there. So I'm not saying that, but so far, that's my experience. So I have to say that, if you just go with I have to say that this is not medical advice, by the way, everybody. This is not, if this is an information share that Misty and I are having right now with you. So, but do not add or take away anything from your daily routine without checking with your healthcare provider first. So that being said, in the observation and information share piece here, there is something about being, having learning differences and all this piece that I see in my learning when I'm wearing my learning specialist hat, connected to superpowers in the intuitive space. And it's a frequency, ability to feel, see, know, and pick up on frequency. And some people are scared of this. I'm going to rabbit trail a little bit. I've heard fear. and fear comes when we don't understand something.
For sure.
People didn't think we had bacteria, and they thought people were crazy that said we had bacteria, when the days of that whole shift into knowing that there actually is. And so, we fear what we don't know and understand. And so that's why we're wanting to bring the conversation to community, because let's talk about what are these gifts. It's the ability to sense frequencies and know frequencies, and they're designed to clear, support, shift. Transmute means changing one energy form to another. And with intention and driven with intention, it is used in a love space. So if something is heavy, what is heavy? Guilt, shame, fear. Those are energy frequencies that are so heavy. And then there's love, hope, joy, peace, kindness. And those are high frequencies. So transmuting is simply being able to shift it from here to here. And intuitive gifts do that. Intuitive gifts give us knowing. So what aligns with us when we're walking through, life, and I see, does this match me or not? If I am in line and accepting and totally in tune with who I am, so if I get this intuitive thing, I'll know, oh, that fits or it doesn't fit. It doesn't take a long time. Just it doesn't fit. Move on. Next, please.
Yeah.
How do I, when I'm a therapist, if I'm stepping into, a session, I don't do it by the book. I could do it by what's high for the highest good for this person. Like you said, one of your gals is so in tune with how people feel. If she chose to be a therapist in any capacity, or a teacher or a lecturer, she could speak to her audience so
Yes.
to the point that shifts them. And that is the power and beauty of these intuitive gifts.
Yes.
So we have this overwhelm bit, but when we're understanding what's actually happening, we really get to say, okay, we know how to self-manage and take care, self-care here. And then this is the superpower. This is the gold.
Yes.
This is the gold inside of you, as we're talking to our children, right? This is the gold inside of me as I'm waking up in the morning and talking to myself. This is your gold, girlfriend.
It's all just designed to help you flow through your journey easier. It is, super simply said. It's just all of these gifts, they're just there to help you navigate effortlessly, and yeah. Getting to that point, though, to where you can see it from that perspective and be able to stay in curiosity and just let it flow. Let it, not trying to control it and really, staying out of fear. The fear will, shows you what you need to work on, what is coming up that's ready to be shifted. It's that's its purpose, but it's hard to see it that way in that moment. And or if it's, if you're looking at it and it's going on with your kids, it's difficult to bring back yourself, and because you're always trying to keep them protected and keep them safe. And when you see them going through these things, I mean, they're the same things we go through. It's just when we see them happening with them, we're like, oh my gosh. You can feel, I definitely can jump into panic and fear. And it's like, okay, just dial that back, stay curious, because you can work through it so much easier like that. And with our kids and stuff, they for sure are always like wide open. So they, they get saturated so much faster, just because the throttle's wide open. So they're able to shift things and go through things and work through things so quickly. They can be just around a friend that's having a hard time, and they don't have to per se know any techniques. Their energy is just doing it automatically. They don't have to be aware of it. But, this is where, if that's happened, then, they may need supported a little bit more throughout the day, or, when they come home, or, if that's happened, my girls are aware enough to where they can notice that and even kind of talk through, okay, is this mine? Is it not mine? Okay, who am I, am I transmuting for, is this happening for, am I clearing for the class or whatever? Why do I feel weird all of a sudden? I mean, we've even got to where we can walk around in a store and they'll feel something and they'll be like, ooh, but they look to you to see how to feel about it. even now, I mean, we have a very open dialogue with what we, talk about, me and my girls. And even now, they'll say something that comes up, and then they'll look at me, and you can see that they're like reading everything, the whole body language, to see how to feel about it. And it's like just staying in that curiosity. Okay, well, and talking to guidance, what's happening right now? Because honestly, just the other day, we walked into a store and we got to a space in the store, and one of the girls was just like, whoa, what was that? She was literally just feeling like a wave of energy back there. And then we got really tired. And I'm like, I feel like we just need to go. I don't feel great here anymore. So we just left, and, all was fine. But it can be very palpable as these things come up.
They can be. And knowing and having the knowing, and that it's okay to navigate whatever needs to be. And those are the pieces. There's so many scenarios, and we're just scratching the surface, right? There's just so many scenarios. So Misty and I want to open up a class to you for empathic parents and intuitive children, so that we can just take a look at what you have seen as yourself. What have you noticed about yourself? Where do you get overwhelmed? Where's this? Do you feel like this is driving you into the dirt? Like there's times that, it's just that overwhelming, and that's very real. And or you see this in your kiddos, they get home and they just have these emotional outbursts and sensory overload and tantrums that don't make sense. Those are the places to take a look and get curious and go a little bit deeper into, okay, what possibly could this be as far as an intuitive gift? And a lot of the times that there is, not every time, but a lot of the times there is under that, in that is an empath, a little empath that is overwhelmed and doesn't know what to do with what they feel, see, know. And they need a safe place to unpack that, to explore that. And as a parent, sometimes that can be really, like Misty shared, it can be really, really scary, because everything in you that wants to protect is like, okay, I'm going to protect. And maybe you just don't know what it's so, it can just feel so overwhelming as a parent too, because how do I help this child? How do I help me? I don't understand me in this area. So we want to bring this class to you where we can talk about your scenarios, what are you seeing, feeling, and knowing, and help you see what is that? What is your gift at this moment? And what are ways that you can self-clear? And then how could you then do that with your children? What do they need to do, or what would help support them best? We can just individualize this. We do hold classes, the Gold Inside of You, where we go into that as a gift development. The opportunity where you're like, yeah, I want to really learn how to clear myself and develop my gifts in this. That's another option too. But the workshop will be just a couple hours where we want to unpack with you. So grab this information, sign up, and we look forward to meeting you and supporting you in this way. The gifts are incredible, and the gifts are here to be and connect us to our purpose work, to connect us to who we are at our most authentic self, our most authentic selves, and then to not just for ourselves, but to ripple into and support the collective, the whole humanity. So, woo, so many places. We just scratched the surface, Misty.
I know.
So we look forward to joining you again. Bring your questions. Thank you, those that participated, and email us questions at janell@janellray.com. We'll be reaching out to you individually as well. Join our parent and intuitive kiddo class, where we can look even deeper together at intuitive gifts and how they show up and how do we support them in our kiddos. Let's make this a safe place, a platform where kiddos can just launch into that creative part of them. All right. Thank you, Misty. It was awesome being here with you.
Thank you.
Everybody that's joining us, and we'll see you soon.